Hello there, welcome to Trade of the Week. Now, last week, Josh Mahoney, he was here and he chose to short the FTSE. He was waiting for a particular entry point in order to get in on that one. But unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. Chris Beauchamp is here to explain exactly why. But Chris, he was stopped out, wasn't he, in the process?
Yeah, we were expecting weakness in the FTSE to continue because it had been a very choppy week. Now, if you look back, we had a big breakout on Tuesday, but we didn't really get any chance to get back into that trade. This is the 2-hourly chart with a 50 to 200 period moving average on there as well, but we didn't really get back up to 6,200 before we were immediately the trade was cancelled because of that big rally on Tuesday. So it's one of those days you're expecting the range to break to the downside, and instead it broke to the upside. It's always a risk you get with these kind of ranging trades because they bounce between two levels for quite a while, and then at some point something has to give. In this case it gave to the upside, whereas Josh thought it might break to the downside.
Well, I mean, at least he had a stop, so that's the crucial factor in this. Okay, so what have you got your eye on?
Well, we've had a lot of weakness in the Aussie dollar in May. In fact, May has been almost a one-way trade, really. So the end of April, we were at 78 cents to the US dollar for the Aussie, and then it's brutal sell-off all the way through. It was a great trade if you were short the Aussie right at the end of April, so plaudits to anyone who was. Since then, that rate of decline has slowed, and you can see there, as we got below the 200-day moving average, that red moving average there, you've got this rounding bottom as we tested the area around 72 cents. We're just below it at the moment. It's a Friday, of course, it's a long weekend, so you might get a bit of choppiness around it, but the fact that we've really stopped going lower suggests to me that you might start to see a rally here. Now, this is dependent primarily on what the US dollar does, and of course Janet Yellen speaks this evening. She may say something. She's only accepting a prize, so she might not say anything at all, but there's just that hesitancy ahead of that long weekend as well. But if the Aussie dollar gets back above 72 cents and then crucially pushes on above 72.54, that 200-day moving average, I think that would be that signal to you perhaps to go long on the idea that you might start to see a recovery in risk appetite. Stock markets around the world have recovered this week, and the Aussie is one of those great risk currencies. When stock markets do well, the Aussie tends to do well as well. You get money flowing out of safe havens like the US dollar towards the Australian dollar. So we're looking for a move back in the first instance, maybe towards the 74 cents level, and we'll see whether it continues on from there. And you've got a nice tight stop loss really to just put on around about the 71.70 level, I think, is your stop loss. You might put it just around there, maybe a shade lower, but that's not a bad area. That's the low from this week. So if it does break there, then that negates the bullish trade. But for the moment, you wouldn't be surprised to see a recovery in the Aussie after these heavy losses.
And you mentioned Janet Yellen. Do you think anything else will play into this currency pair?
We've got a bit more Aussie data coming through the next
GDP?
couple of weeks, GDP numbers coming through especially, so that also could provide some volatility. We've had that rate cut from the Aussies, and if that GDP number does come in quite weak, then you would suggest that the RBA might cut rates again, so that would put downward pressure on the Aussie. But for now, it looks as if this one is dominated by the US dollar, and the weakening there gives the Aussie that bit of breathing room to rally.
And what about commodity prices? Are you looking at those?
You could take that into account as well. What China does, of course, you've got PMIs from China next week, although towards the end of the week. So for the time being, I think if you're looking at the beginning of the week, it's mainly about the current focus on US monetary policy.
All right, Aussie dollar it is then. Chris Beauchamp, thank you very much. Good luck with that. We'll certainly check in with you next week and see how you do. All right, thank you for watching. I hope that's helped you out and given you a few ideas perhaps. But as we always say, whatever you do, it's better to be safe than sorry, and just put those stops on. All right, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.